Hello and welcome to the PhotoVidShow tutorials version 4.41. In today's tutorial we're going to talk about transitions, or the transition effect between one slide and another. So let's get started. Okay, so here we have my DVD slideshow which I'm putting together, and I want to change some of the transition effects between the slides. So currently, when I play this slide here, you can see it slowly fades into the next slide. There we go, you see it slowly fading. This is the default transition effect. This is very nice, but PhotoVidShow comes with a whole set of different transition effects. So I'm going to show you now how to change them. So to change a transition effect between two slides, as you can see, this is the two slides which we want to change the transition effect from. Just left click on this little box here. You see it just sort of highlights there. Normally it will show a picture of the transition effect, but it's very small and it's hard to tell. So, but if you left click on it, you'll be shown the transition selection window. Okay. What we have here, what we're presented with, is a preview of all the different transition effects you can have in PhotoVidShow. The current transition is highlighted in yellow. Do you see this little yellow border here? This is just to say this is the current transition, and it's also the default one. It's just the default transition that is applied between slides. Now there are 5 pages of transitions. If you click on these arrows here, you can go through the different pages. As you can see, it just sort of shows a preview of them. It's going a little bit slow on my PC because I'm encoding this video at the same time, but hopefully it will run a little better on your computer. So there's 5 pages of them here. I don't know how many that is, but some of them also include picture effects like here, as you see. So to change your transition effect, just simply left click on any one of these. As you can see here, it will preview the transition effect here. These picture ones are really just for fun, really. There's some more nice looking ones here, this type of thing. Often the sort of default ones you expect are on page 1. Ones that I quite often like to use, perhaps this sort of white blur out one, it sort of goes to white and blurs it, or this one here is a nice effect where it's that's sort of this zooming out dissolve effect. I like that one. And on page 2, this camera snapshot one. Although it's very quick there, when you actually come to create your video, it's sort of, because PhotoVidShow has this motion blur effect, that actually looks quite nice on the output video. So you can just go through here and select transition effects you want to use. So there's lots to choose from. The default one is this one here. So this is the default one, which is perfectly okay to use as itself. It's worth noting that some of these transition effects do use a lot of graphics power, perhaps this one. So if you'd like, for example, apply that one and then preview it in your slideshow, it may slow down your PC a little bit, depending on what the graphics capability is on your PC. On mine it's no problem at all. So if we go back to the transition effects there, you can see also here, you can see anything listed here is recently used transition effects, just in case you want to apply the same transition effect to different slides and you don't want to keep going through all the different pages. It just lists the last maybe 5 or 6 recently used transition effects. So if I went to this one here, I could then just apply that same whiteout blur effect again. Now normally it's set to default here for the transition time, but as you can see, it takes about 1.5 seconds to go from that slide to that slide, do that transition. but this is actually modifiable. You can customize this. If you select custom here, you can then actually change how long it takes to do the transition. So you could have a very long fade like this. As it slowly fades, you could have like that, or you could have something much faster, almost instantaneously. So if you would apply that and it was fast, so you can play around with this. If you don't want a transition effect, if you just simply want to snap from one slide to another, and I've covered on the previous tutorials why you want to do this, just select that. Okay, you just snap from one to another, and when you've done that, it prints this little cross, this sort of black and white cross there. That's to say there is no transition effect between those two slides. It just simply snaps from one to another. Maybe you want that, and there are reasons why you may want that, as I've said previously. Now it's worth noting here that if you have a transition effect, we'll say like 1.5 seconds, that what is going on here, that there are two slides being shown at the same time. Okay, so in effect it's displaying two slides at the same time there, a bit of one and a bit of another. So if you've ever wondered, for example, if you've got 3 slides in your slideshow and they're 8 seconds, but the slideshow time says it's, say, 21 seconds, you think, well, 3 8s aren't 21, so how does that make sense? The reason is because it's not showing one slide after another. At some point it's mixing these two slides together, so part of this 8 seconds is also part of this 8 seconds. So this is why sometimes your slideshow length may not match if you add all these numbers up together. So if we go back here, if you select a nice transition effect, which you want as a default for every slide, you can left click it and click this apply to all slides. Now what this does is apply this transition effect to every slide in your slideshow. I don't often use this, but if you ever want to do this, that is a way to do it. And when you also push this, it sets the default transition to this effect. So if you were to add future slides, they will automatically be set to this transition effect. So I won't do that now, but if you ever want to do that, that is the way to do it. Another thing of interest, which applies to that, is this random one. So what you could do is just say, well, we just want our whole slideshow just to have random transitions. We don't mind. So what you can do is left click on that and then select apply to all slides. Now once upon a time, PhotoVidShow didn't really have, this is on very old versions of PhotoVidShow, it didn't really have many transition effects, maybe just a few from here, and that kind of worked. The only problem with that now is that there are a lot of transition effects, and some of them, as you can see here, are a bit, you don't really want a snowman one in your wedding photo. So when you select random, it really means random, and it means it could be any of these transition effects, including some of these rather strange ones. So I actually recommend in version 4.41 not using this unless you really want to. I believe in future versions there's going to be an update such that this random effect will just apply sensible random effects, if you like. Okay, so there we go, we've got this transition effect here, and when I preview my slideshow, you can see it's applied my transition effect. So it's nice just to go through your slideshow and just go through and customize it a bit more. So you can just change the transition effect to that, to something like that. It just sort of mixes it up a little bit. Well, I hope you've learnt a lot today. In this tutorial we've shown you how to set the transition effect between two slides, and I'll see you for the next tutorial.